Hello everyone, I'm Kavita Chamaria and today we have with us Suchi Rungta, who is my senior colleague. In my starting years in the finance line, there was a time when Suchi ma'am always used to tell me that it is very important to read business newspapers like Economic Times or the Business Standard or the Business Line. But that time when I used to open these papers, it used to be nothing but a lot of articles, a lot of numbers, a lot of words and a lot of confusion. So today, she is going to tell us how to decode the Economic Times. Ma'am.
Thank you, Kavita. So, hi everybody. Today we'll be discussing how to read an Economic Times. We can read any business newspaper, be it Business Line, Business Standard or Economic Times. However, the rules and the method of reading it remains the same. News are merely pieces of information which is flowing all around us. Being a financial market participant, it is very important to filter these news which can be used for further analysis. So let's start. Now this is the first page of the newspaper. News on this page is normally discounted or juiced out by the financial markets.
The front page of the newspaper contains a small section which is known as the market tracker. This section is a snapshot of all the market activities which has taken place the previous day. As we can see here in this picture, Nifty, Sensex, BSE Midcap, all these indices, what was the last closing is given in this section, and the percentage change from the previous closing is also given here. Rates for currencies like rupee by US dollar, commodities like gold, silver and Brent. So this section is basically giving us a wrap up of what has happened in the markets. Whenever we open a newspaper, there are several news which we can read, and all these news are divided according to the different subject matter. For example, if we open the page 2 of Economic Times, we can see pure politics. Now this particular page will consist all those news which is related to politics. So in case if we are interested in politics, we can definitely go through this page, or we can just skip it, not giving too much of importance. But for example, say if there is any political event which is coming up, for example, elections, maybe state elections or center elections, then it is important to go through this page so that we know what are the political developments which might affect our financial markets directly or indirectly. The next subject or topic, as we could say, is the company section. Now this company section contains all those news related to different companies. Some may be covered or listed on our exchange, some may not. So we may read the news and go through the details of companies which is listed on our exchange and affect the markets directly or indirectly. Stocks, news related to companies which is not listed on our exchange, we can simply skip through. The next section of the paper is the economy section, which is containing all those important news which might affect our economy. So for example, if we have a GDP data related news, or if we have an inflation related news, all these news will come in the economy section because they affect our economy directly. After having a look at the newspaper and its different sections like politics, economy, companies, and so on, being a financial market participant, our next step is to subdivide them into different subsections like our economy related news which will affect the financial markets, sector specific news which might affect the markets, for example a rise in the oil and gas sector because of crude oil prices and so on. news relating to different stocks or different companies which is listed on our exchange, and market data which will give us the sentiment analysis of the participants.
So that was a lot of information. But Suchi ma'am, so far what we've covered was the general market in broad, the general companies and the government policies.
Yeah.
Now what if I want to know about specific companies which are listed on the stock exchange?
Now for all those news of companies which is listed on the exchange and has a direct impact on the financial markets, we have this ET market section which comes with every newspaper. This section of the newspaper is actually containing all those news which has a direct impact and the stocks are listed on the exchange.
Smart investing is a very important section of the ET markets. Now this section of paper contains news which is directly relating to our financial markets. The first section, as we can see, is what to buy, sell and hold. This section is catering to various analyses and views of brokerage houses and different analysts. Here we can see a few day trading guides and also other company related news which might affect the markets as a whole. For example, if we can see an NTPC offer news here, also Kotak Bank's news. Let us have a look of the section of smart investing in detail. The first section as discussed is the market trend. Now this section is containing all the market snapshot of different indices. For example, Nifty 50, Sensex, then the MSCI Brick, MSCI World, SX 40, Nikkei, Hang Seng. These are the international exchange. So all the indices percentage change and the last closing value is specified in this particular section. We also have the data on the important commodities such as crude. Bond yields are also mentioned in this section. We have rates of gold, which is a very important commodity. Coming to the next section is the day trading guide, which is featured by the Edelweiss. Now, this section is basically giving views on various stocks for day trading purpose. Now, let us understand what do we mean by day trading. Day trading is basically when you take a position in the market and you square up that position on the same trading day. So if you look at this newspaper, there has been these technical picks has been given by Mr. Tejas Shah, who is a senior technical analyst in Edelweiss, and he is giving calls on Tata Motor DVR, Biocon and United Spirits, specifying a buy with a target, and there is a stop loss also stated for each trade. Coming to the next section, which is the FNO strategy, which is again given by different analysts. Over here we can see recommendation by Tejas Shah, who is giving calls on futures, say buy Dr. Reddy here, and an option call of buy ICICI Bank. There are few other commodity calls also which we can see here.
So Suchi ma'am, on this page of smart investing, we have this section called market intelligence, which initially never made sense to me. So please explain the section to our listeners.
Kavita, market intelligence is one of the most important part of the ET markets. It is just not mere numbers, but it represents the pulse of the markets. With proper data churning, we can use them as an integral part for our analysis. Let's look into it how in details.
Let us now take up the market intelligence section topic wise and understand each of its interpretation in the financial markets. To start with, we do the advance and decline box and the highs and lows box. Now, high and low is basically depicting all the stocks on the BSE and the NSE which has made a new 52-week high and an all-time high. The high and low box is basically denoting the market breadth. So, if we look at it here, that in the BSE, in a total, 25 stocks have made a new 52-week high, whereas 112 stocks has made a new 52-week low. Whereas on the NSE, 4 stocks have made a new 52-week high and 45 stocks has made a new 52-week low, depicting that the overall trend of the market has been down. If we look at the all-time high figures, no stocks on the NSE has made a new all-time high, whereas 7 stocks on the NSE has made a new all-time low. Coming to the next section, which is advance and decline, which is also an indicator of the market breadth. These two actually tell us the broad sentiments which is prevailing in the market. Advance basically is telling us that how many stocks which is listed on the exchange has advanced vis-a-vis the previous closing, whereas how many stocks on the exchange has declined vis-a-vis previous closing on the previous market section, trading session. So, as we can see in this picture, if we talk of the NSE figures, 308 stocks out of total 1512 stocks listed on the National Stock Exchange, 308 stocks has given a positive closing or has advanced vis-a-vis the previous closing, whereas 1167 stocks has given a negative closing or has declined, and 37 stocks has been unchanged. If we come to the BSE, again 684 stocks has advanced, whereas 1932 stocks have fallen and 148 stocks is remaining unchanged. So an advance and decline figures is also giving us a brief idea about the overall market breadth. Coming to the next section is now the turnover and Spurton volumes in NSE and BSE. Let us understand in detail what data are they depicting. Now, if we look at the turnover, what do we mean by turnover? Turnover is basically the value of the trade, which means volume of shares traded into the price at which they have been traded. So, date-wise, in the NSE, whereas BSE, the value or the turnover in crores is written. It's clearly written that a turnover is in crores. So here we can see that on the 23rd of February, the turnover at the BSE was 2,593 crores. 2376 lakh shares has been traded, and the number of trades which has taken place on the exchange is 12.36 lakhs. Similarly, if we have a look at the NSE, 13,393 crore turnover was there. 7189 lakh shares has been traded, and number of trades on the NSE was 68.84. So we know that what is the overall turnover on the exchange from this section. The next section is the spurt in volume at BSE and spurt in volume at NSE. Let us discuss the NSE volumes. Now over here we can see the day's volume, which is specifying that the previous trading session, the number of shares which has been traded on this particular stock. The average 2 weeks average volume of the particular stock, percentage change, and the day's close. That is the price at which the particular stock has closed. So, when we see these stocks, KCP, BF Investment, JK Siemens, these stocks have seen a phenomenal volume increase on the previous trading session. Consider an example of JK Siemens. So, on this particular day, the volume has been this, whereas the average 2 weeks volume is only 9,028. So, the percentage increase from the average volume of JK Cements has been 3,971. And if we see the price closing, the closing price of JK Cements has been 475.2. So if we compare this closing with the previous day's close, if it is a positive movement, we can understand that there has been some buying happening in this particular stock with large volumes. On the contrary, if the price has given a negative closing compared to the previous trading session, so we can understand and judge that this particular stock has seen some selling happening with large volume. So Spurton volumes in both NSE and BSE is an extremely important indicator to understand the market breadth and market sentiment, and it also gives a lot of stock filter for our next trade. Coming to the next section of market intelligence is the FI activity and the mutual fund activity. We all know that Indian markets and as well as the entire emerging markets is very much dependent on the foreign money. So we need to track what the foreign activity, FI, that is the foreign institutional investors activity happening on each trading session, as well as the mutual fund activities. Let us have a look in this detail. Talking of the FI activity, date wise, their net buying in equity and selling in equity is specified, and they are the net, if we look at the figure, they are the net sellers on this particular day. So if we compile all these data of advanced decline, high, low and FI activity, it is clearly indicating weakness in the market because all the data is negative. The next day, if we look at the data on the 19th, we see that FI activity has been a net buyer of 620 crores. We can also compare in the debt market. The data is here that in the debt market, they have been net sellers of this much worth of crore rupees. That is 1,398 and 733 crore of rupees. Same data is there for the mutual fund. This data is actually tracking the mutual fund activity, that they are the net buyers on 19th. Again, they are the net buyers on the 18th likewise. The data of a mutual fund activity is slightly laggard compared to the FI activity. The next section of the market intelligence talks about the 52-week at NSE and all-time at NSE. Now remember, we had discussed when we were discussing about highs and lows in the beginning that how many stocks, say on BSE 25 stocks had touched a new 52-week high, and say 4 stocks on NSE had touched a new 52-week low. This section is actually giving out those names. If we look at it more clearly, the stocks which touched a new 52-week high at the NSE are these, and the lows, new 52-week lows are these, indicating weakness. The all-time high at NSE is, there is no all-time highs at NSE as we had checked. There are few all-time lows which is specified here, and the closing prices is mentioned here. So the stocks which is hitting new lows is indicating weakness, and stocks hitting new highs is indicating strength.
Now that was a very helpful session. Thank you so much for joining us, ma'am.
I hope all of you start reading the newspaper with more learned perspective and more interest. Thank you and happy learning.